we are coming back to you live from the hotel setup. I know this is week 3 of the hotel setup. I think it's pretty snazzy. So, today's topic, meal prep for the champs. Ashton, what the hell does that even mean? Let me know if this is you or not. This was me, so I'm here to fix this for you. Because this is like the worst thing ever. Common meal prep strategy. Bulk cook everything. That's meal prep. But your food tastes like shit after like 4 to 5 days. You know what I'm saying? Like that rice is like kind of like a weird, funky, gooey texture to it. But it's also really dry and flavorless despite adding like half the tub of salt. Your chicken is just like, it's like dog food. It's not good. Or just like your pasta, like your sauce is done like something weird. It's not good. And so how can we save time but also preserve the flavors of our food? Because I think a big barrier to entry for people who are trying to get into meal prep or who do meal prep and want to take their performance or their fitness goals seriously, who wants to stick to shitty tasting meals when it's like Friday and like your life sucks, like your girlfriend's not putting out, because, you're a fat slob, but you're trying to make it work, but your chicken and rice tastes so bad. God, how do we fix this problem? Well, let's talk about these strategies. I've got these written down for you. Let's start with the meats. How do we approach cooking all the meats in a way that flavor is preserved? Well, what I like to do is I like to cook all my meats at once, but I don't put it in the containers. Hear me out. So I do my meal prep. Typically what I do is I'll cut up my steaks into portions or my red meats into portions so that I can cook them on the spot on the day. That's like a dinner. But my chicken breast and my chicken thigh, for my chicken thigh what I do is I take like smoked paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, salt and pepper, and I sprinkle that over the top of the chicken thighs and I put it in the oven. And I take it out once it's nice and crispy and cooked. Typically about 25 minutes with the chicken thighs still cold. Check if it's cooked. Don't just like listen to what Ashton says. I put it like 200 degrees Celsius. Ooh, tastes so good. It's a very good chicken thigh. Great. And so what I do is I scoop all that up and I put it in a container and then it sits in the fridge. And then I forget about it and order Uber Eats and pizza every single night. Yeah, that's right. I'm into fitness. That was a shitty joke. Wasn't even funny. And so my chicken breast, I do something different. I cut it up into like strips or wedges. And then I spray with a little bit of olive oil spray. Load it up on salt. And then I put like a herb mix. Boom, into the air fryer. The reason why I put it in the air fryer is I want the chicken breast to be lean. Because that's why I eat that particular meat. I want the chicken thigh to be nice and juicy. So I want it to kind of sit in its own fat a little bit while it cooks. But the air fryer, I want to use as little fat as possible, but I still want it to taste good. And so I get like this like light friedness from the chicken breast. And so boom, chuck that in, boom, take it out, again into a container. Congrats, Ashton, like you've cooked a bunch of meat. But like what the fuck am I going to do with this? Like I'm confused. Like what about all the other stuff? Well, my friends, let's sort that out for you. What I do is I'll wake up, let's say in the morning, and I'll have 2 rice meals I have for the day. While I'm preparing breakfast, I'll literally just like turn the rice cooker on. And so, I take my shit, I go for a shower, I cook breakfast, I do all my stuff that I need to do, and then my rice cooker's ready. And so if I'm on the go, I literally just take the lid off, I scoop out the rice, boom, put it in the container, go to my meat container, boom, chuck it in. The meal is like ready. And I haven't like portioned it out, like done all this careful portioning and, It's not sitting and marinating in like a weird way. Like it's just boom, boom, boom. And so, like I might be spending an extra 20 minutes over the week because I'm not doing it all at once. But what I am doing is that seems to preserve the quality, because you can also do it. So like you cook 4 days worth of meat, and then maybe it's like Thursday, and then you just chuck a little bit more in. Or maybe you use like a different type of meat. And so that's a way to keep things fresh, is you don't have to put it in the containers. That's one of my strategies. And so cooking everything separate, and even vegetables. So for example, what you could do is you can fry up like a big bunch of vegetables, like 4 cups worth. And then what you do is you just portion it out. Like you get like a spoon or a measuring thingo, whatever you want to do. I don't really give a shit. You can use your hands like caveman style, or cavewoman, cave, they, them. Really doesn't matter. Whatever you prefer to identify as. And then you just put the food into the container. Problem solved, right? So I think you don't have to cook it all at once. It doesn't matter how it's assembled or when it's assembled, as long as it's the same amount of food that's entered your mouth over the days or the weeks. So keep that in mind. I think there are some kitchen utensils which people could be using, which will make like huge differences to their meal prepping experience. These are a non-stick pan, a toaster, a sandwich press, and I've already mentioned these two, a rice cooker, and an air fryer. God, let's break these down. The air fryer can literally cook almost anything. And you know what you can do? Is when your chicken thigh is like sort of old, what you can do is you can chuck it in the air fryer with like some sweet potato, and then the chicken thigh is going to like re-crisp up. It's almost like it's going to re-fry itself. Best thing ever. And then you've also got those sweet potatoes. And so one thing I really like about the air fryer, I just mentioned it, is that you can kind of like chuck anything into it and it will cook like an oven, except way quicker, way more even, and with much less oil. And so if you're restricted on your fat intake, which most people really trying to push the envelope of performance ultimately results in, the air fryer becomes really, really, really useful. And so, for example, a meal I like to cook a lot is steak and sweet potato. So I'll literally chop up the sweet potato really fine, spray a little bit of olive oil spray on it, salt and pepper, boom, into the air fryer. 15 minutes later, I've got like perfect like little wedges almost of sweet potato. And then while that's cooking, boom, I've put a steak on, and now I have a meal fit for a king. And so now we have like the rice cooker. This one's kind of like a no-brainer. It's just cooking rice on the pan is like the worst. It gets stuck, it's gooey, you always add the incorrect amount of water. It's a terrible experience. And so I heavily recommend investing in a rice cooker. You get perfect, even rice every single time. It saves so much of your time. It's just like, and you don't have to even get the expensive ones. I get like the really cheap ones, like the rice cookers. And if it breaks in 4 months because I eat rice almost every day, that's fine. It costs me like $20. You can go buy a really fancy one if you feel, but they're super cheap, super convenient. Best investment ever. And if you eat a lot of rice, you can literally just like hold on to the receipt, and then when it breaks in 30 days, just say, hey, look, it broke in 30 days, and see if they swap it. I mean, look, if it's got a warranty, use your warranty, especially if it's a cheap one and it has a warranty. It's like, finessed. It's a little pro strats with Ashton. So the non-stick pan, again, like if you're trying to cook food quick, you don't want to be worried about that shit getting stuck to your pan. And so if you can literally just use like tonsils, boop, boop, boop. Again, the non-stick pan is superior compared to the non-stick pan. The stick pan. There we go. What am I talking about? And so a toaster is really useful because like people don't use this enough in their meal prep, but bread is like a super valuable super valuable source of carbs. So easy, so quick. Like, for example, you could take your chicken thighs, like in the morning, you dice it up, you chuck it on your non-stick pan, you walk away for like 5 minutes, toast in the toaster, and then you just put some like of those pre-made veggies on. Boom, that's your lunch sorted. 5 minutes. Like, it's awesome. And then you use the non-stick pan to cook your eggs, or maybe you just put in like some more chicken thigh for breakfast. I mean, I wouldn't have chicken thigh for breakfast because that sounds really weird, but the point is the toaster really enhances the quality of your meals, and also people need to realize you're allowed to have bread. Like, as long as it's fitting your macros and it's a part of a sustainable diet, like, have your bread. Does not matter. And so, sandwich press. It's just like, if you're bulking, if you need to cook things, for example, you could cook sausages on the sandwich press. If you want to make like grilled cheese, it's just like one of those things where it's like, you're in a rush, you need to make a quick meal, pop some shit together, good stuff happens. And back with the rice cooker, there's no reason why you have to cook it the day of. Like, the night before you have to wake up, you can just cook your rice in the rice cooker and then distribute it into dishes so that you can run in the morning. Like, this strategy, yes, you will spend an extra 10 to 20 minutes a week, but the quality makes up for it. Like, your adherence rate will go from like 80, 70% to like 90, 95%, even 100% if you're like super on point. So these are all things to think about. Have emergency meals. Look, meal prep is great, but this whole 0 to 100 mentality where it's like, if I'm not on point, I'm gonna eat like shit, or I'm gonna skip meals. It's like, that's not a healthy mentality. Have meals in your freezer which are made for emergencies. This will save you so much headache. It's like, my food's gone wrong. I'm not vibing with this. It's like, what am I going to do? You have had Coles microwavable meals in your fridge. And so you pop it in the microwave, boom, you dip off to work, or you go work out. You've got a solution there. It's there for you in case things happen. Now, you don't want to rely on these because, maybe costs can add up and that's a barrier to entry for you, hence why you're meal prepping. But maybe once a week when you do your shop, just walk past the freezer section and see if any of your favorite pre-mades are on special. And then you just grab 2 to 3, problem solved. You put them at the very bottom of your freezer. You really disincentivize yourself to use them. I just think that's a really good option. For example, here's another good one. Find macro equivalent replacements. You don't have to eat boring shit all the time. If you're like, it's Friday night, I've been invited out to this place, or it's lunch, right? And you have 600 calories and 40 grams of protein. That might look like a Subway. Or for example, like you run out of chicken. What are you going to do? Well, then you've got beef. And so understand that the meal, it can either be, for example, when you meal prep, you can be like chicken and rice or pasta and beef. And so what you do is you create substitutes, or fish and potato, or beef and potato. It doesn't matter. And so allow yourself flexibility with your meals, and when you're designing your meals, to be okay with going this and that. I think that's a really valuable strategy. And this was just like a quick video or podcast, however you're consuming this content, to just get better at meal prepping. I think when you begin, you either are really shit at cooking or you go too strict. And so hopefully this has been helpful, because the concern with if it fits your macros, in my experience, is that it's too flexible. It's like, I'll just eat it later, or I'll just have this and that, and you've had like 1,000 calories worth of KFC, and now you've got like 1,000 calories left for the day, and you're just going to be super hungry. And so I think there needs to be a middle line of have your consistent meals, which you'd like to eat, and that's kind of your staples, but also allow for flexibility when you need to. And there's no point making your life harder than it needs to be. So hopefully you found some help, some benefit in these videos, and I'll see you for the next episode.